Tellers, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Very good, thank you. Welcome to Calico Live, and thank you so much for doing this. We are broadcasting. As I mentioned to you a moment ago, I have a message on the YouTube dashboard saying that there might be a problem with the audio streaming. So, anyone who's watching this, if you can confirm that you are hearing us, that would be really useful. You can just put a message in the chat to say, yes, we hear you. And if I don't get any message, we're actually recording this session as well. So
Cool.
if the worst happens and the YouTube stream is broken, then we have a recording that we can put out later. So that's fine. Um,
Work with technology
yes,
always
exactly.
happen this. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I just recently rebuilt my machine, so I think maybe it's something to do with that. So, just to introduce myself, first of all, my name is Chris Tompkins. I'm lead developer advocate at Tigera. It's my job to kind of champion our user needs and make sure our users' experiences and stories are heard. And I have worked in networking for over 20 years. I used to work on kind of Juniper and Cisco and hardware devices. I became interested in SDN, software-defined networking, and that led me into Kubernetes, and here I am. So
Cool.
tell us, would you like to introduce yourself?
Cool. It's fun for me, Chris, because the first time that I met you was in the Calico training. I see you. I falei, whoa, it's fun. And now you are talking. I think it's crazy because how it make a lot of possibilities, and we start to have a conversation in a meeting. For me, is super. It's very cool. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I know what you mean. It's very funny to be the talking head in the videos, but yeah, I'm just glad you could take the time, and we are going to start to we're going to start to uh, use Calico Live to speak more to people outside of Tigera. In the
Yes.
past, it's been mostly Project Calico employees, but so you're a cloud security engineer at Trend Micro, right?
Yes. Today I'm cloud security engineer in Trained Micro. I start my career in IT, studying developer, but I'm not developer. I learn about Java, C, C++, but well, I live in south of Brazil in Curitiba.
Mm-hmm.
When I start my university was in a countryside,
Mm-hmm.
and in countryside it was not very uh, uh, there wasn't a lot of jobs to work with developer, and I moved to infrastructure, and
Mm-hmm.
now I find myself in security. I really like work with security. Is a is a challenge all the days. Have a lot of bad actors, a lot of threats.
Yeah.
We always need to be ready, like the firefighter, because we have a lot of problems all day, and we need to be ready.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I find a gap to myself in with developer, and I start to study Python.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started my graduation, Python was not common, and I think now for using IT or you automate something, Python is a powerful language, and
Yeah. And I think as
I'm
well
trying to
with
learn more.
yeah, the thing with Python as well is there are so many. Its success led to more success because there are so many modules for it now. You know, you can enable anything. I mean, Calico is written in Golang, as I'm sure you know,
Yeah.
which has been a challenge for me because, like you, I have more of a background in Python than in Golang. Um, Actually, Talis, I just noticed that we have several viewers, but no one has told me that they can hear us, and no one has told me they cannot hear us. So, Burak, I see you're listening. If anyone can give us a confirmation that the audio is working, because I had a message from the YouTube dashboard saying there may be an audio problem. So, if someone can confirm that they are hearing us, I think they must be hearing us because otherwise they probably would have posted saying I can't hear you. So, I think it's good.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, cool. And so, what does your day look like most days? What's your day-to-day work like?
Okay, okay. Well, today I help the companies move to cloud with security, right? We have is a challenge because we have a lot of cloud providers with different infrastructure, and for me, I need to understand the customer environment to help to put the best solution to protect it. I talk with different personas or different teams, and I learn a lot because I really like to talk with developers to understand how
Mm,
developers building the world,
mm,
and I think it's good. And it's a fun fact. When I heard the first time about Docker, I felt, oh my God, this is not good. This is not will work. And now I can't live without. Every day I read some articles. I learn something different. And I remember when I start my career, I really like Linux.
mm.
Work with Linux in Brazil. We had we have a lot of Linux distribution, and I use it one based in Debian, and now I'm very happy with learning Kubernetes, learning Docker. I think it's good.
Yeah, it's building blocks of knowledge as well, right? I remember the same journey. I remember knowing about. I used to work with VMware and virtualization a lot, and then trying to understand. Okay, so I can remember. I can remember making notes about Docker and Kubernetes and trying to understand. Okay, so how does Kubernetes relate to Docker and all this? And these questions now that seem quite simple to me. But I think it's useful for us in our job to remember that how it feels to be in that position, so that we can create materials and resources and guide people. Because
Yeah,
once you get once you get too much knowledge, it can be a problem for helping the community because you can't remember how it feels anymore to not understand this stuff. So we have to try to remember how that felt. When did you?
yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, no. When I start working with virtualization, uh, the my team and my coworkers always told me we can't virtualization. The database is not good, is not recommended, and today is very common. It's not a problem. On or start using cloud. Cloud is a little bit expensive. There is no too much services, and today with one line of code, you provide a lot of things
Mm.
in cloud. I think it is amazing, and the same part is the troubleshooting. No, you told before working with networking. The troubleshooting the network and physical network is little bit hard with using TCP dump, a lot of commands, and today you have a lot of tools that help us to see the events. Or observability help us a lot to understand the problems.
Yeah,
I think
definitely. If we
it's
talk,
good.
I think later on, if we have time, we'll chat a little bit about our eBPF data plane, and that's one challenge that we have with the eBPF data plane is how we make sure that the visibility is as good as the IP tables data plane, because historically, most network engineers will know how to use IP tables, but maybe the same cannot be said for eBPF. But let's come to that later. When did you first start dealing with Kubernetes learning? When would that have been? When did you start learning about Kubernetes?
But a good question. I'm very proud because I have a good mentors. I have some guys let give me a tips. When the first time that I heard about Docker, I think this is not good, and my mentors keep tell me, oh, bro, keep studying this. This is the future,
This is what you should. Yeah,
and
yeah.
yes, and I remember when I create my first Kubernetes cluster, I had 3 Ubuntu machines using kubectl. Oh my God, what is kubectl? It's very complex to do this. And you install the kubectl, install the Kubernetes. And the first time the Docker engine was default, and have a lot of comments to get the pods, get the namespace. What is a namespace? I when I was learning, I had more questions than what I'm not sure what I was doing. I just followed the how-to. A lot of questions in my mind, and I think I read a lot about Kubernetes. In Brazil, have a guy, a very famous guy, the Jefferson is the name. This guy have a strong community called the Linux Chips. Jefferson teach the community without without pay. We don't pay to learning about Kubernetes, about the cloud, and Jefferson is a expert, and I learned a lot with Jefferson.
Interesting. So let me ask about that actually. So I'm really interested.
Sure.
One thing I really want to learn from you is where we have challenges around the language barrier and second language learning for Kubernetes. So for his material, was he doing that in English or in Portuguese?
Oh, is in Portuguese. I think the language is not a problem, but to have some maybe some slang, some words is hard to understand or put in the best context to understand all. Okay, we can have the Google Translate. You have a lot of translates available, but you receive a message error to put on the Google 1,000 of answers, 1,000 of answers in Stack Overflow. But what this error mean? What is hard to understand? The first troubleshooting and learn more, understand what is happening. And I think the language is a challenge.
So do you think just speaking about Kubernetes first and not Calico yet, but just speaking about
okay.
just speaking about Kubernetes, do you think that the documentation is available in good enough? Good enough translation is already available in lots of languages, or does it need to improve further? Because your English is pretty darn good. So of course, some of your colleagues, their English will not be as good as yours. So
yeah, I think if you have the documentation in Portuguese, it's good. But sometimes you have the documentation in the native language, but what you must do to understand what are you doing is we have a lot of the documentation, but where you can start, because it's like a book. We have like a manual, right? We have some steps to follow, but maybe the first step is not the first step yet. Maybe sometimes if you don't have a good knowledge to understand the basic, or step before the basic can be very hard. It's a little. It's like a inception. No, a lot of things on inside.
Yeah, I think what you just said is really important as well, because it comes back to what I said when you and I first started talking about how if the person writing the documentation has too much knowledge, they may assume that you can that you know the leading steps. You know, like you said, the inception steps, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
so in that situation, let's say you're missing a part of the documentation and you're trying to read it in a native language. Do you just end up going to go and read English Stack Overflow and translate it, or is the Stack Overflow content, is there sufficient Stack Overflow content in native languages, do you think, or do you just go back to Stack Overflow in English and use translate for everything?
I prefer I prefer uh, copy the error, put in Google, and
Mm,
look in the both languages to compare
mm,
and what make sense, because sometimes the problem is not in the Kubernetes. For example, the problem is in the Linux,
mm,
is in my environment, and I need study a little bit more or troubleshooting the system operation, not the application.
mm,
And you need step one back to you must need a Linux command to the shell or to troubleshooting. But using the both languages, or Portuguese, English, or Spanish, and make the I think the average, I don't know, the of the both.
mm. What about, so when you moved on to learning about Calico, how do you find the experience there? Because obviously the main point of contact for us is right now is Slack. We have,
Yes.
we have Discourse, we have, I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter and all these other things. But the fastest response you can get, unless you're a commercial customer, the fastest response you can get is to come to Slack. But of course, the Slack is in English. So how do you find it in there? Are you aware of any other non-native language, not non-English language Slack channels or anything for this kind of thing, or do you just come straight to the Calico user Slack?
I think uh, it to be a part of community is better if it's in our native language.
Hmm.
But the first time that I encountered Calico, my mentor told me about Kubernetes. I started studying. I was looking more information about the CNI,
Mm-hmm.
and I found Calico, and I started googling more about Calico, and I find the training, and I start study more about the what is Calico, the network policies, and when you learn more, open your mind. It's the labs in the Calico training was very good for me.
Mm.
I like the Calico operator, because is the have some exercises you can practice. You have the knowledge check to understand. If you don't make sense, or if you don't if you have a question, you can go to the Slack group, put your question. The community will help you. If you can translate, write in your Portuguese, translate to English, and paste, the community will help you. Because in the end, as you talked before, we are human. No, you made mistake. We always learn, and I really like, and I
Yeah,
think
the first course, the first operator course, CTO L1. I think it's a very good course. I think we're really proud of it. But it was written before I joined Tigera as well. It was part of the reason that I really enjoy Calico myself. Before I worked for Project Calico, I also did that course, and I felt like it's a really excellent resource. The we when we created the courses, we did try to make sure that the video content all has subtitles, and the you can adjust the playback speed, so that because I knew that it wasn't practical for us to create the courses in 15 languages or 20 languages because we don't have the skills in-house to do that. So then we thought, okay, how can we make it more accessible? So we made sure the subtitles are there, we made sure the speed adjustment is there, and in the first course you also have the lab notes that you can take out. So we tried to make it more accessible. What would you, if I said to you something, if I asked you what can we improve, what can be better for second language? The thing is, ideally, I need to ask this question to someone whose English is not as good as yours, because your English is good enough that you can do it in English. But of course, I can't ask someone who doesn't speak English because I don't know how to ask them. So that's why I ask you. So what do you think we can do better to make it more accessible, both the courses and the documentation?
Cool. Well, the first, maybe I can help to put the subtitles in Portuguese. This is the first I really want to contribute. Because of this, I'm part of the big cats of the Calico. I'm proud. I can help you to.
That would be amazing. Actually, we have the all of the videos from the courses. We have the full scripts of the transcript of the speaker notes, and it's word for word. The challenge to make that the thing that would make that challenging would be that we would need to align the subtitles with the content in the video, unless maybe it's acceptable to just have the translated version as a document that you can download alongside. Okay, that's really interesting. What we should do is we should choose one or two of the videos and test it out, see how much, because I do want your help, but I don't want to put so much work on you that it's not fair, so we need to find an efficient way to do it.
Yeah, I know. We have in the internet, we have a lot of content available. We always competing with Netflix, with Amazon. We competed with a lot of content, and I agree. Make sure that the content will help. Help.
Yeah. And is there anything else apart from the video content? Do you think anything else that we could improve?
I really like the labs. It's a good use case with a real app. In the labs was the first time that I used the multipass. I used after this training. I use multipass to do more things in my lab to study. It's pretty easy to create a cluster. I think this is good. The lab provides a lot of ways to learn more, and the content, and it's not deep. Is a good content to start. If you start with the operator, it's a good content. We have maybe the requirement, you must know a little bit about the Linux, the system operation, to troubleshooting something. I think this is everything is good. Another point, sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Like I said before, we don't have to stick to any script. We can just talk anything you think is interesting. Go ahead.
I remember now. The ebook about the Kubernetes and the security and observability.
Oh yeah.
and is another complementary content to help uh, to understand and learn more.
Hmm.
I think we have we need the first step, choice our way, and after this, okay, I'm moving to security. I have the book. I need move to cloud. I have another training about cloud,
Mm.
and I think it's good. And another point to learn more, maybe practical workshops with taking the content of the training. Oh,
Mm.
let's make a workshop and doing step by step and
Yeah. Now
helping the troubleshooting.
let me tell you about something we're planning. Actually, I haven't mentioned this to you before, so you're hearing about this for the first time now. But we have this idea for the Big Cats program. We want to help to make it more possible for our Big Cats to deliver meetups. So what we're going to do is actually to package up some resources, slide decks, lab environment, and everything, and try to package it up as one thing so that you can take this blob, this tarball, like a tarball almost, tarball of content. You can it gives you everything you need to deliver the presentations and take away resources like the
Mhm.
ebooks and lab environments as well. So we want to make it possible for people who want to support us to be able to do so at any meetup that's local to them. So does that sound good to you?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Um, I think this is the best way here in my city in Curitiba.
Mm.
We have a community called the Confratech.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is talk about technology, about the business, and uh, during the pandemic we have a break, and our idea is start again in May. It's May, April, May, yes. In and maybe some workshops with the IT guys, with the communities that don't have money to pay a course. We can help to in the IT education.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great idea. I think that previously we haven't taken advantage of the people who want to help us. There are so many people like you who are happy to get involved and want to get involved, and I think we're going to try to do a better job of providing the resources to help you to do so. I realized that I didn't say at the start that I discussed it with you offline, but I have about just under 10 minutes before I need to drop for another appointment. So we need to talk. We wanted to talk briefly about network policy and eBPF as well, right? Um, so what's been your experience with Kubernetes and Calico network policy? Do you find that people want to use both, or what's your experience with it?
Today, my experience, my customers or in my POCs, the I'm using the network policy to move a content like a quarantine pod if you
Mm-hmm.
have some security issue, and you create a rule if you have some out of compliance, you move it to a pod or namespace
Mm-hmm.
to protect your environment. I think this is the first step to protect or understand the communication in your environment with what is need communicate what parts, and if you don't if it's not necessary, you can create a rule to block and not expose everything. I think this is good. because some attacks is they not came outside to inside. Sometimes the attack is inside to out, because you can prevent this creating specific policies to limitate the communication. I think this is good.
Yeah, did you see one example of that? I did a video recently about Log4j and how if you wanted to continue to deploy Log4j, it's possible to do so. You just need to prevent it from being able to talk to its attack targets. You know, it's so sometimes blocking egress is just as important as blocking ingress,
Yeah,
for sure. Do you find that most people implement a default deny, or do you find that they don't?
I think they don't.
Mm.
Because uh, if you have the knowledge about your environment and you build from scratch, it's more from startup big.
Mm.
If you have a monolithic is migrating to microservices, can be a little bit hard starting blocking, but you can, when your environment is increasing, you can creating rules to default deny and prevent.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about our enterprise products because this is open source focused, but yeah, we have some features in the enterprise that help with that. But I tend to steer away from talking about enterprise too much here. But yeah,
No.
it's nice features, but it's also my experience as well that sometimes people find it difficult to implement zero trust, default deny, because they know they need it or they know they should do it, but especially if they have a big monolithic thing, they don't understand their own application well enough. But one one
Yes.
thing one thing I often say to people is that that process of understanding that this part talks to this part and this part talks to this part, that process, not only does it help you with your security, but it also helps you to understand your failure domains and your scaling problems. And
Mm-hmm.
if you understand your application from this here to here, and you understand all the parts and how they interconnect, all of a sudden you can start to understand where your bottlenecks are, and where your scaling problems, bottlenecks, security problems, vulnerabilities, inflexibilities. It all comes from that knowledge. So I really, it's so worthwhile to take the time to understand it.
Yeah, I think the is look, you sometimes you have a big cluster and your environment, you can decrease the cluster because you are spending resources. If you have a small cluster and you don't have the visibility, or the pods can't scale, you have a problem. It's observability can help you to do this, but they have a lot of the contest to implement this or learn more.
Mm.
It's a big challenge. But you mentioned the zero trust. Zero trust is like well, in Brazil we call the white elephant. It's a big
Right. Yeah.
thing,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
because it's have a lot of things. If you if you can put security in your Kubernetes cluster, but if you don't enable the MFA, you have a problem too, because you have problem with the credentials. But zero trust is a long topic.
Yeah, it's a huge topic. Yeah, it is a huge topic. I've been on both sides personally. I mean, the part that frustrates me is when people miss the opportunity. So sometimes when you move something into microservices, that's your opportunity to learn where your rules need to be, and what needs to talk to what, and it's your opportunity to put the policy in place. What about so do you find do you find that network policy is the main driver for Calico instead of something, something like Flannel or anything else, or do you find?
My first experience with network policy was with a Calico, and I I'm not everything that I know about network policy is why I learned the Calico documentations. I see the training, and I I don't know why, but I always based it in Calico my knowledge about the network policy.
Yeah, it was actually it was the same for me. I learned about network policy and Calico together, but I mean, obviously Kubernetes network policy is not part of the it's part of the spec, right? So even though it's up to the CNI to implement it, network policy is part of the default Kubernetes network spec. So, but I learned about it the same way, where I learned about Calico and network policy together for sure. Okay, we're nearly out of time already. So just one more thing. What about Calico and eBPF? How is the comprehension of eBPF among your colleagues and your peers? Do people understand what it is and where it's coming from at the moment?
I think eBPF now is in the hype of the words. Like eBPF is not a good thing. Is you work with Linux during long time and had the BPF. Now we have the eBPF. It's a evolution, and I didn't know, but I find I forgot a meetup, a summit of eBPF. For me, it was cool. I never heard about this summit, but when I start to learn more about eBPF, I find this summit and have a lot of content about eBPF, and it's good because we can look into the kernel Linux, we can look into the network, we can look into the monitor, we can look into the security points to use eBPF. And the point is be simple, be reliable. This word is reliable.
Reliable. Yeah, reliable.
Reliable.
Yeah.
And they can be scalable. And I think this is very, very important.
Yeah, so the biggest challenge I see right now for us is the eBPF data plane. As long as you understand the limitations that it has a few limitations. If you understand those, then it's production ready and stable and fast. I think that almost going right back to something we talked about the start. The visibility part is. I think that a lot of network engineers like to use command line tools like IP tables because they come from a networking background where that's how they like to visualize the rules. And I think that we need to get a feature set that allows parity in the visibility. But I think it's coming. So yeah. We are Talis. I have to drop because I have this other meeting.
Okay.
So, but that was perfect timing because we got through most of what we had on our list. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on here and doing this.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and I will, as you know, I think you know, I'm going on holiday tomorrow, which I love my work, but I'm also I'm looking forward to a holiday. So, but when I come back, I'll message you about the translation stuff for the courses because that could be really, really helpful for us.
Cool.
So thank you so much for doing this, and I'll speak to you on Slack.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Chris. Bye.